Welcome to Heroes and Droids, your guide to movies and TV shows about superheroes, sci-fi, Disney, and action. From Marvel to DC, from Star Wars to Star Trek, from James Bond to the Fast and the Furious, we will review theatrical films and streaming delights you care about most. And tonight we are very excited to review Loki Episode 1, titled Glorious Purpose. Oh, it's here. We've been waiting months. We've been talking about WandaVision and the Falcon and the Winter Soldier leading up to Loki, and it's here, and we can't wait to talk about it. Oh boy. All right, I'm Doc Rotten. Let me introduce the rest of the crew, starting off with the one and only Slattman. How you doing, sir?
Good. I have found my glorious purpose. It is to be here to talk to you.
That is so true, sir. So true. All right, also joining us is podcasting rockstar and international cosplay queen, Vanessa. How you doing, Vanessa?
Hello there. Oh, wait, that's a different show. Sorry. Getting him confused.
General Kenobi.
This is my what if Loki were pretending to be a real life woman in disguise.
Okay.
Well, that may happen this season.
Spoilers.
Yes. And that voice you hear is award-winning filmmaker Christopher G. Moore. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing good. I told you that if you weren't going to let me on this podcast, I was going to gut you like a fish.
What's a fish?
What's a fish?
You know what a fish is.
No, I'd like to know.
Isn't that a band?
Is it a bad thing?
I want to know what it is before. Never mind. We've run that joke into the ground, but it was excellent on this incredibly funny and adventurous show. Has Marvel kind of have they done it? Have they unblocked the mystery to creating the perfect TV show? I don't know. We'll find out. What we're going to do is we're going to give our first impression. During that time, we'll be spoiler free. Then we're going to talk about the show. We're going to go into spoilers. That's the purpose. We're going into the spoilers, talk about it. We're going to predict all kinds of crap. We're just going to go into it. If you've watched our previous shows, you know what we do there. And then, and if you haven't, I recommend you do. And then at the end, we're going to wrap things up with our final thoughts, our score 1 to 5, and our favorite scene. And there are a lot of scenes to choose from. All right, we are talking about Loki, Season 1, Episode 1, Glorious Purpose. Aired June 9th, 2021, despite the June 11th on the poster, because they bumped it up to Wednesday, which was weird, but worked out because it is being declared the top watched debut show on Disney Plus, which is awesome. And it's directed by Kate Herron, written by Michael Waldron. The cast includes the great Tom Hiddleston, Owen Wilson,
Wow.
Wow. Gugu Ra, Wumni Mosaku.
Ruby.
Yes, Ruby. Eugene Cordero and Tara Strong, and I mispronounced half those names. I apologize. The synopsis: Loki, the god of mischief, finds himself out of time and in an unusual place and forced against his godly disposition to cooperate with others. Others, he say. All right.
Jolly cooperation.
There's no cooperation in Loki. All right, let's find out what our first impressions were, starting off with the Slattman. Sir, let us have it.
It was excellent. I really liked it, and I think they did an amazing job of setting up what the next couple episodes are going to be, and really bridging that gap between Endgame and what the heck is happening. They've done such an amazing job of showing us what it is that Loki has done. They've done such a good job of filling in his 7 or 5 movies worth of character development in 50 minutes.
We did.
And they nailed it. Every actor and actress in this episode just nailed it. The jokes were on point. The soundtrack was awesome. The set design was fantastic. Everything was great. And I fully expect that at least the first 15 minutes of this show, of this episode, will be required viewing for anyone who wants to watch Doctor Strange, because oh
Maybe.
boy, they came out, Kevin Feige and Marvel came out and said that this will be the most influential show of all the shows on Phase 4, and yeah, first 15 minutes kind of proved that. So I loved it.
Yeah, what a fun way to get a exposition dump. We'll talk about that later. All right, up next is Vanessa. Vanessa, what was your first impression of Loki, episode 1?
I loved it. It has its own glorious purpose. And that's to make me watch this entire season. I really didn't know what to expect, honestly. I was going to say it was everything I expected, but I didn't know what to expect from the show. They didn't give us too many hints as to what was going on. But I love it. I love seeing Tom Hiddleston again. I loved seeing them throwing it back to the Avengers again. I mean, it was so fun to see all of it come together. And it was actually a lot more emotional than I thought it would be. And it had a lot more dry humor to it too than I thought. And, Loki kind of has that kind of humor, but man, him and Owen Wilson are like my new favorite pair, I think. Owen Wilson is just so absolutely amazing in this series, to the point where, I mean, he may be taking the focus away from our Loki a little bit, at least to me. I think his look is amazing. I think the way he's playing this character is so cool, and I'm so excited to see more, to see where this is going to go.
Yeah, wow. Yeah, he did a great job. I think Eugene Cordero may be the only one that may have upstaged them both as Casey.
Okay.
But we'll talk about that shortly too. All right, Christopher G. Moore, what is your first impression of Loki?
I really love the show, and I hate saying this, but I think the shows are showing that even though they're so connected to a lot of the stories that we've seen in the MCU, I think they're doing a better job of telling stories than the movies have, because they're allowed to sort of get outside the normal storytelling aspect and tell some really odd and interesting stories, And of course, you have the ability also within episodes to flesh that out and go into places you wouldn't be able to do in a 2 or 3 hour movie. But yeah, and I think, in the same way that I think WandaVision had a lot of bit of fun with like style and that kind of stuff, this does as well. And in a very, this feels very like Brazil. It feels very Terry Gilliam.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And its approach to where you have these time people and they're basically like The Office. But yeah, I love the style, the attention to detail when it came to just, I mean, look at it's almost like the styles that died because of time, because they weren't good, and people they almost turned that into how the place looked, whether it comes to wallpaper or light fixtures and all that kind of stuff. But
yeah, very mid-century modern.
Yeah, but every element. And let me also want to point out one thing that I really loved about this that nobody's really talking about. The episodes are being directed by a female, and the cinematographer is a female on this series. So that's something we should applaud and praise, and you wouldn't really know that. But yeah, I just seeing seeing what's Ruby from our TV show showing up on there.
Lovecraft Country, yeah.
I mean, and yeah, just everybody. It's fun because with time travel you can get a little bit bogged down and sort of like trying to spell that out. But I think they're creating an element that's really interesting. I think the only thing that I didn't like as much is like with them incorporating footage from the movies and stuff. You could see the limitations on doing that, where they were trying to use different shots and stuff. But but still, it worked within the realm of what they were trying to do to sort of evoke emotions. But I mean, look at this. We go from something like, you know, some of these other shows or whatever to this, to where it's like a good bit of it's just people talking. But then you have like these weird action things that are like, whoa, that's kind of cool too. So but yeah, and it's, you know, it's got this mystery about it, you know, that we want to find out more about, and just seeing Loki, we get to see sort of an arc of his character just in this first episode.
Yeah, we do.
To where he goes from being like his normal Loki person to being sort of like a change Loki, which is what he needs to do to be able to sort of move on in this series. But yeah, I loved it.
Yeah, I absolutely love this too. Tom Hiddleston is fantastic in this, and Loki has been one of the surprise breakout characters in the Marvel universe. That, you know, he was basically the villain, but he's turned out to be, you know, one of the favorite heroes or anti-heroes or whatever you want to call him. And it's part of, you know, the actor's charm in and of himself, because he just embodies this character with, seems like, ease. And he stepped into the 2012 Loki from Avengers like that. Like it's an entirely, I mean, it's not entirely different, but it is a different Loki than the Loki we get, you know, by the time Avengers Infinity War comes around, right? Or at least the end of you know, the Ragnarok, right? And he's got to be kind of reinvent that arc, and that's what you were pointing out, Christopher, and the way they handled that in this episode was brilliant. And, you know, the whole conversational bit, you know, talkie and the way they, you know, brought it around with, you know, showing this archived footage right from the end of the reel, and he just realized you know, a lot about himself, and it there's quite an emotional moment in this that may get to you. It may make you choke up a little bit. It's pretty good. And we do have this really great mystery surrounding it, like, what's this variant that's going through time and causing a lot of grief, and what are they up to? Who is it? They say at the end of the show who it is, but I don't believe them, or at least not 100%. We'll talk about that here in a little bit, but it, for a show that is mostly conversation, it's riveting. It's absolutely riveting. This is really well written, and it's extraordinarily well directed by Kate Herron. I just want to say that I was sucked into every moment. It is shot for shot. It is just beautiful, from the time Loki wakes up in the desert to to they're in that room watching that footage and everything in between. It's all wonderful, and things are in the shots. It's handled really well. It's staged marvelous. The jokes are, you know, the timing of the jokes are fantastic. This is spot on. Marvel, in my book, Marvel's cracked the code and they figured it out. This is wonderful television, and I think it may have topped WandaVision for me. I mean, I really loved WandaVision.
Just the first episode stuff?
Yeah. I mean, well, not the whole. I mean, I don't know about the whole series yet, but I mean, we only get 6 episodes of this. Well, we only got 8 of WandaVision, right? So
I've heard that the second episode is even more impactful.
Oh, I can't wait. But the point is, I loved it. Absolutely loved it. And I've already watched it twice, and I was almost ready to watch it again before the show. It is brilliant.
Well, that and just like WandaVision, there's like all kinds of hidden things and stuff that sort of tie into stuff later.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of which, we know that you have a
Okay.
10 things for Bad Batch.
Actually,
do you have a 10 things?
I have
for
more
Loki?
than 10 things.
Oh,
but and I'll try to knock it down. But yeah, because this first episode is like heavy with like Easter eggs everywhere. But there's some things, you know, right out the gate, the Marvel logo goes to green and yellow, goes to the colors of Loki in the very beginning, which is nice to see. Also, later on, when you see the actual Loki title come up. There's different fonts for the different letters, which actually ties in that there's different variants of Loki out there, which we'll probably find out throughout the season. Let's see. When he goes into the TVA to sort of like goes in that little to get his ticket and stuff, there's a mural on the side that there's a guy that looks a little bit like
Stan Lee. Looks very much like Stan Lee.
Looks like him, but there's actually a guy that Owen Wilson's Mobius was based on, that supposedly it looks a little bit like his character in the comics as well. So it could probably go either way. Also, when he's first brought into the TVA, there's a Skrull in the tracksuit, which if you remember Captain Marvel, there was a Skrull that was wearing a tracksuit, and supposedly when we get to I think Secret Wars Secret Wars, there's supposedly a tracksuit mafia or something, or some kind of group of Skrulls in tracksuits. So that could be interesting.
Oh, that might be Secret Invasion.
Secret Invasion. That's what I did. There's like a million different Marvel properties.
Yes.
Also, something that ties into what Vanessa was talking about. My theory is that the villain is a female Loki, and if you look in the very end credits when they're looking over his paperwork, it said his gender is fluid. His sex is fluid. So that could tie into that. Also, when the little cartoon thing that we watched, there's the point where the cartoon character says multiverse and then later on madness.
No.
And we all know that this along with WandaVision and the new Spider-Man film are all going to tie together with the Multiverse of Madness, the Doctor Strange sequel. Also, Owen Wilson's character, Mobius, is drinking a Josta soda, which is a discontinued soda, which actually sets the precedent. Evidently, they possibly consume discontinued things, because actually in the end credits, there's a coffee pot, and I think it says 900 BC. So they're drinking coffee made in 900 BC. So, so evidently they eat or drink discontinued things. So that'll be interesting to see if we have like a clear Pepsi showing up at some point. Let's see. Probably one of our favorite characters is Casey, the person working at TVA, who actually showed up in another series that we watched called The Mandalorian. He was in chapter 4. When they were the people out in the woods. There was it krill or whatever the little things they turn into like drinks. The one with the ATST in the woods.
Oh yes.
The Cara Dune episode.
Yeah. So which actually also ties into WandaVision, because the guy that was with them is the co-worker of Vision in the office, is in that Mandalorian.
How does that happen? All right, that's cool.
But also something to pay attention to. Casey, throughout the episode, he has pins in his pocket, and as the episode goes on, ink starts coming out of the bottom of his pocket.
Got some red on him. Oh no.
Also, this is something from my Dragon Con friends that probably already know this, but they shot a lot of the stuff in the TVA in the Marriott Hotel in Atlanta, Georgia.
Oh wow, I didn't know that.
Let's see. Also, when Loki drops into the desert, it's sort of like the beginning of his journey, in the same way it was the beginning of Tony Stark's journey in Iron Man. So that's a nice little homage. Also, we get mention of Nexus event. There's even a poster that says Nexus events must be pruned, and as we know, Wanda is a Nexus being, so that ties into that. Also, there's a poster for Always Watching, which is probably ties in. There's something nefarious going on with the TVA. They're not as being helpful time people. Also, the music, I don't know about you guys, the music feels very reminiscent of Doctor Who.
Yeah, that's
it almost has a theremin, like a theremin which which all has that sci-fi vibe in general.
Mhm.
But I love the music in this episode, and I love how they're taking chances with the music in the same way they did with like the Mandalorian. Also, when the Infinity Stones, of course. There's also in that there's like a little money. There's a money chip, and there's a cross, and there's a medal. So evidently, some of these people have been using these little Infinity Stones before they got clipped to try to use them for nefarious money reasons. Blah blah blah. I'll stop right there. There's like a million different ones. Those are a few.
Peggy Carter. Gotta say something about Peggy Carter.
Oh yeah, Peggy Carter. I forgot about. Well, that's the rumor. There's a moment where Loki's in the foreground. In the background, a door opens and there's one of the TV agents is leading this woman who looks like Peggy Carter. So a lot of people are thinking this might be a way that they're trying to tie up the loose ends to say, hey, those other Marvel properties that Kevin Feige wasn't over,
there they are.
we're going to clip them out of the timeline. So I hope that's not the case because I love Peggy Carter. But yeah, supposedly a woman who looks like Peggy Carter shows up for some reason. Maybe they're trying to go after Steve.
Yeah, well, they might. Yeah, it'd be interesting if this ties into the what if animated show, if in any way.
100% will, I think will, because I feel like every single one of those is going to be a Nexus event.
Whoa.
Well, then let's please have a live action Marvel Zombies, please.
There you go, Marvel Zombies live action. Speaking of all that, the way they introduced the whole concept of the TVA, I thought was rather brilliantly done because there was a lot there, but it wasn't difficult to follow, and they used a familiar kind of way of doing it, maybe from Jurassic Park. Christopher Slattman, you really enjoyed this animated thing, right? With what was the time character in it? The little time clock.
Miss Minutes.
Yeah,
Miss Minutes.
Miss Minutes. Voiced by Tara Strong.
Yeah.
The very famous voice actress. I loved it. I immediately I was like got Mr. DNA vibes from Jurassic Park, and just I don't know. I'm a sucker for like little animated things like that in movies to help with exposition because it makes so much sense. It's like when you need an exposition dump, make it a funny little cartoon that the character can watch and put it in a situation where it makes sense for them to be explaining it. And I feel like it's so much better than just a person talking to give us the information that's necessary to understand what's going on. And it's so smart and it's so well done, and the animation was so cute and it was great and I loved it. And if I remember correctly, there's also a ton of little Easter eggs within the little cartoon as well.
There is.
And as someone who loves Jurassic Park and instantly got the little Mr. DNA vibes from that little cartoon, I was smiling ear to ear the entire time that little cartoon was there. And I think that cartoon is very important for Phase 4, explaining everything that's about to happen, and probably is, as I alluded to earlier, must watch before watching Doctor Strange and the new Spider-Man movie.
Maybe, yeah. It was fantastic. And if I'm not mistaken, if you pay attention, there might be a little hint of Kang the Conqueror in there somewhere. I saw a little something about that. Who knows? There's something buried in there. Let's put it that way. Vanessa. You were talking about Owen Wilson, who is in there, and the chemistry between him and Tom Hiddleston is. I don't know if they knew that going in. Obviously they had to do some kind of like screen test, right? Or do they? Because these are guys. They're not going to do it with Tom because he's in there. But what about with Owen? Are they going to say, well, he's a big enough name, right? Not to, but their chemistry is wonderful. You spoke to that. Tell us more about it and more about the Owen Wilson Mobius character.
Mobius. I think this is one of the roles he was born to play. He just is so gentle and soft and patient and kind, and it's so interesting to see someone like that Loki just can't really rile up, right?
Mhm.
Even when he ran away, he repeated to him, he was like, oh, mischievous scamp.
Yes, yes.
He wasn't really worried about it, you know. He was like, oh, we'll find him and we'll go from there. So I think he's a great, you know, classic odd couple pairing, right? The two of them together. And the humor is just so amazingly subtle. When he's talking, Loki mentions something about the song of my people or something. He goes, something song, and Mobius goes, oh yeah, how does that one go? Just slips it right in there quietly. Loki's like, I'm going to burn this place to the ground. Let me show you my desk. You can start there.
Yes, exactly.
Just fantastic, elevated writing that's so subtle and witty, and I'm enjoying it so much because Loki is a genius, right? He's one of the smartest out of all of them. At least he considers himself that way. You know, he could talk most of us into anything. So to see someone like that who's the complete opposite is really nice. And so much of this is new to me. So them being Mobius being a character or not a character, but a creature that's been created. How long has he been around? He says time works differently in the TVA, right? Is he thousands of years old? Is he time immeasurable? Like they've all been created to monitor time by the time. What are they called? Not Time Lords. That's Doctor Who. The time. What are the timekeepers?
Timekeepers.
Timekeepers. Yeah. So I'm just so interested by this world that they've introduced us to, and I'm really glad that he's kind of the face to carry it for us. Also, I can't remember her name in the show, but Woonmi is fantastic. I love that she doesn't put up with any of Loki's sass, and I love that she's so confident the whole time in what she does, and then we get a moment later where Loki gets some control. And it almost becomes a little scary, right? When he gets the control over someone who has had so much control. I don't know. The things that they're doing with this are just really, they got me. I want more.
Yeah, Hunter 15. So
Hunter, that's her.
Hunter
that's her
B15.
name?
B15.
Okay.
Yes. And then there's Hunter U92 as another one of the characters that was named. That was Derek Russo. He's the one with the gruff voice.
I speak all the languages too.
Yeah, that's him. That's him. Yes. I really like these characters a lot. I like this whole makeup. I don't really know much about these characters, even though I'm a Marvel zombie. For some reason, I've kind of missed this, but I have no trouble, sliding right in. The interesting thing about it is magic doesn't work. The Infinity Stones don't work. And it that affects Loki. Loki, when he realized that, he looks at that funny old screen monitor and he goes, "Is this the strongest power in the universe?" And he just, it's it makes me wonder if the TVA ends up being involved with Doctor Strange. How does Doctor Strange and Wanda? How do they act? What happens with their in the TVA?
Yeah, how do they react to that, right?
Right.
If I had to guess, they probably can't because powers are both from Infinity Stones for the most part.
That's true. That's true. It's Doctor Strange. Well, his time thing is right at the. But is Wanda chaos magic? Is she? I mean, that's what she is in the comics. But did they establish that, or she's a Nexus, right? They call it Nexus.
Yeah.
They established that she got her powers from the Loki scepter, right?
Originally, but there's more. It actually awoken powers that they already had.
They said she had chaos powers.
Well, I was thinking it almost feels like it'd be interesting if Loki realizes, well, this is the real power of the universe. I need to be king over this. So would it be funny by the end of this thing, he's over
in
the
charge
TVA?
of TVA? Oh man, well that's
Maybe
true.
all
It's
his
like,
Loki variants are like
At some
are the new
point, it's got to
timekeepers.
go wacky, right? In order
Well,
to get to the Doctor Strange movie.
well, but I mean that's I guess we're already in spoilers, aren't we?
Yeah.
yeah,
But
for sure.
well, you have this variant Loki who's collecting all these time machines, these little, well, I forgot what they're called.
They reset time.
They reset,
Yeah,
and so
yeah.
if he or she, let me say that, I think it's a she, but if they collect enough of them, they could probably use that to sort of like either create their own
Blow a hole in the sacred time
yeah,
path or whatever.
or create the something. I mean, I think that this person is probably knows maybe possibly the TVA, or at least the people over the TVA are not nice people, and so maybe they're not as villainous as what we think they are. Maybe the true villains, like most of these properties, are maybe the people in the TVA.
Well, so they told us, he's like, it's you. We're going after a Loki, which I want to believe that it's a lady Loki too. But there's nothing saying that it is, right? It could be some other character. He just thinks it's another Loki because of the behaviors.
Mhm.
And because
I think physically the way the person moves seems like it could be a female, but maybe that's just
I think
Well, it
it's
could be. I'm
probably
thinking it
more
could be
than one.
somebody.
Oh, that's
somebody
true.
else.
It could be a bunch of Lokis.
well,
could
yeah,
be
they
a
could all
bunch
be
of
working
Lokis.
together. Yeah.
But could it also
Gag.
be like she pointed to the devil, right?
Mhm.
So it doesn't necessarily have to be a Loki.
Well, the director pointed out that it's not that thing in the window is not Mephisto. So
No,
but at the same time, they said that they picked a picture that looked like Loki because Loki has the horns.
The horns. Yeah.
okay.
So
Yeah.
and the person is wearing green with horns, so that's the reason.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I'm still saying Kang's in here somewhere, and it could be Kang.
I saw
Well,
a theory
Kang-
about that.
Well, I mean,
They're going to
I think-
introduce him because he's going to come around later, right?
Well-
He's in another movie.
well, the woman who's like the judge supposedly is his love interest at some point in the comics. And I feel like
who?
that
Kang's?
Kang.
Oh, that's
yeah.
right. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, that
Oh.
character, the judge character, supposedly has a relationship with
Mhm.
Kang in the comics, and then also maybe the head behind her is actually Kang. I mean, and what we actually did get to see Kang's fortress or his city is actually in Doctor Strange.
Didn't
Not
they cast that
Doctor
character
Strange,
already?
but Ant-Man.
And Ant-Man?
In Ant-Man, when they go into the
Ant-Man and the Wasp.
when they go into the quantum realm, I think that's called.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
They pass right by this little city, and that city is
Chronosis or Chronos something
like that.
Chronosis
Yeah.
something.
Wow.
But they did cast that actor. There's an actor cast,
Jonathan Majors.
right? Yeah.
yes.
So
Another-
they could technically.
Another Lovecraft country
Yep.
peeps.
So he could have a tiny little.
I mean,
cameo
but
in
we're
here.
also going back into the what if Doctor Strange shows up at the end of WandaVision? I don't see it happening.
It could be that. It could be that. But we do get, the hooded figure a la Star Wars. At some point that hood will go back and we'll figure it out. And it's right. We'll be talking about that later in the week. Anyway, I don't know. We're definitely going to be talking about that for the next 6 weeks about what it's going to be. That's going to be the big mystery, is what's going to happen. And I don't know. I suspect that all this is going to lead to the multiverse war coming back together, and and that's why we're going to have all the Spider-Man in one universe.
I fully expect that whoever or whatever or whomever, or like multiple entities ever are behind stealing the little reset time thingies, that it's probably going to end with them blowing up the sacred timeline, and that's what kicks off everything.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Yeah, they reset the reset. I wonder. Okay, so we did see that staff. At the very end scene, there's the staff stuck in the ground, and they come up to it and they measure it. They didn't really say much about it.
Shovel. It's electronic shovel.
It was electronic shovel.
Yeah.
But why? What is it? It's not just there. right? Marvel's not going to do that. I love the oil bit though. I love the oil gag. Like, hey, oil. And they thought it was somebody who found a time machine. They thought it was a time machine. And the person just went back into time to get the oil and make it rich, but it was a trap. It's a trap.
Drink your milkshake.
But it was pretty good trap too. I like
Pretty
that.
brutal trap. If you
Yes.
think about it.
Yeah.
Did the one guy didn't get away though, right? The one guy crawled. I'm trying to remember.
He
didn't-
got grabbed.
He got grabbed and
out
pulled
his
off,
butt.
right? Yeah. So whoever this person is, they are vicious and they are.
They kill people at church.
Yeah, that's
I mean,
true.
this is Marvel, and we
And Disney.
open with Disney, Disney, and there's like a bunch of dead people in a church. Although I don't know what kind of churches have a devil and in stained glass like that.
Yeah,
That's kind of
sexy
creepy.
hot devil.
What else? I feel like we've missed something. Does anybody have anything else before we go to our final thoughts?
I am blown away by the special effect when he gets hit.
Oh
But,
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, there's some of the stuff I was like, oh, I can see the green screen, but that one, I'm thoroughly perplexed on how they were able to pull that off because it's almost like that. And then she's just sitting there like, you're going in slow motion, but you feel every element of the pain. I was like, dang, that's some
Little in real
that's
time.
that's some really mean-spirited, brutal abilities there. But yeah, that I was really I loved any of the technology involving time. Whether it's a little almost like a remote where you can just rewind somebody.
Yep.
Which is almost like the TV type stuff. Evidently, that the little player thing is actually based on an actual player from the 80s,
Oh wow.
like an 8-track player or something.
Oh wow. Yeah, I like how when that ended, it just said end of reel.
Mhm.
Oh man, that kind of hurt. All right. Well, let's go ahead and wrap this up. Let's give our final thoughts, our score 1 to 5, and our favorite scene. But before we do, if you're listening to this review, we want to thank you for joining us. We hope you're enjoying not only this review, but other reviews that we're doing. We are covering The Bad Batch, and we'll be hitting a couple of movies coming out. The theaters are slowly opening across the states, and this summer and into fall is going to be amazing. So look for reviews in that respect. Everybody's getting tired, so we better get on to this.
We can't rewind.
Everybody, I know, everybody's yawning. What the heck?
I need more time.
All right, Slattman, you are up first. What is your final thoughts, your score, and favorite scene? Sorry.
I
Go ahead.
absolutely loved this. I thought they did an amazing job not only establishing what the next 5 episodes are going to be like, but telling an amazing story and introducing us to an amazing section of the MCU and really setting the stages for the rest of Phase 4. This is excellent, and it's excellent from the top all the way down. It's the performances are great, the set design is excellent, the everything involving like the music and the special effects. Christopher, I know you said you could see some of the green screen. I didn't catch on it, so I apparently don't have as good of an eye as you, but I guess that's what comes with being an award-winning filmmaker.
Yes, there you go.
And the writing in this episode is excellent, and everybody involved, I feel like, gives an amazing performance and really is giving it their all. And the chemistry between all of them is great. Even the chemistry between Owen Wilson and the judge lady was just like,
That too.
you really want to try this? If this goes south, it's on you. Like I loved it. I loved it. I loved all the little Easter eggs. I loved all of the humor. I loved the mystery that they're setting up, and that cliffhanger was excellent. And I loved it. I'm going to give it a 5. It's an excellent first episode, and I really hope that the next 5 really keep it up. My favorite scene. So I know I said I was really, really, really happy the entire time that the little cartoon was going on, but that's surprisingly not my favorite scene. My favorite scene is actually when Loki is watching the end of his reel. The acting from Tom Hiddleston is amazing in that, like, 30 seconds to a minute, like the little joy in his eyes when he sees himself like go to attack Thanos and like pull one of his tricks on him, and it looks like he might have the upper hand, to the transition from that to the total fear and realization that he's about that Thanos is going to kill him, and then going through what a lot of the 5 stages of grief, like just right there, just from like 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 a little bit of anger, denial, acceptance, etc., and just that scene really just excellent, and that scene really cemented 5 movies worth of character development in 50 minutes.
Yeah, this is another time where they've validated the Dark World. It's crazy with some of the scenes that are in here. But I will say that it also, like just pulls the rug out from under him on his glorious purpose, right? Because it destroys all of what his notions of what that was going to be. And it's like, oh crap, what is he? All right, Vanessa, you're up next. What is your final thoughts, your score and favorite scene?
Yeah, I thought this was fantastic too. I'm just blown away at how good it is for, a television show that we're getting to watch and enjoy. Casting's perfect. The music's great. The visuals are so cool. I felt like Loki when he was looking out into the space time city. He was like, this isn't real. He's like, yeah, I know. It doesn't feel real, does it? All this stuff is just so incredible inside this like mid-century modern kind of framing, which it just absolutely loves. It messes with your mind, right? Because it's vintage looking, but so futuristic in what it's doing. So I'm here. All the costuming, set design, everything. They've done a fantastic job. So yeah, I'm giving this one a 5 too, of course. How could I not? And there's lots of great scenes. That scene with Tom Hiddleston is probably the best scene in the entirety of the show. Just his acting in that is just phenomenal.
Yes.
But I'll give you a couple of my favorite funny moments. The jokes that I mentioned earlier. One that I loved in particular was when they're talking, when Owen Wilson or Mobius and Loki are talking, and Loki goes to get up and he times him back into the chair, and he was like, I was just getting up for dramatic pause. And he's like, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead. He's like, doesn't work now, and gets frustrated, throws the chair back. I thought that was perfect. And it also knocks Loki down another notch, right? You don't get to have these dramatic sensibilities like you normally would have. You're very controlled now. I loved that. I had another one, but it's left me. But to counter that scene that I was talking about earlier with the I've already forgotten. It wasn't Agent. It was what do they call the time cops?
Hunters.
Hunter.
Yeah.
When he's got her stuck kind of in this time loop because he put the collar on her and he's doing it over and over again to a point where it's like, it's not funny. She's experiencing all this over and over again. Who knows what it feels like? So at first it's funny, and then it just becomes really a bit scary, because he wants to show her his power, his control. But at the same time, it's very sad too, because he's not, he's doing it to hurt her, but there's just so much, it's so layered in that performance and those emotions. It's so nuanced. And then he goes into the next things that we see happen. And it's just, so there's so much drama, just well played drama in this. It's really, really great. So yeah, those are some of my favorite moments. My favorite scene is definitely the end of the file
Yeah,
moment is absolutely the best. But all the funny moments, and anytime Owen Wilson is on screen, really is one of my favorite moments.
Yes. I thought you didn't like to talk. All right, Christopher.
Talkie.
Yeah, Christopher G. Boyer, you're up next. Your final thoughts, your score and favorite scene.
Yeah, somebody on TikTok was talking about like the perfect way they should end this series is to not allow Owen Wilson to say "wow"
Ever
until the very end when Loki escapes or something, and right when he's about to say "wow," they cut out in the middle as "wow." It would be like amazing and also exasperating at the same time.
Like they did with the Avengers Assemble, right?
Yeah, like that. Be like, wow. I love this. Yeah, this is this series is like element. It's like Time Bandits meets Jetsons parts. It's such an odd. It has like that Terry Gilliam weirdness about it, style wise, and just the sort of like the sci-fi fantasy element, and also just tying it into the real world aspect of it. Like you have all these technological stuff, but at the same time, you have these people using like dot matrix printers, and
I forgot to mention earlier, not to interrupt you, but talking about Terry Gilliam and writing and everything, one of the writers on this was worked Rick and Morty, right? So it kind of translates that
he's
sort
also,
of humor and everything.
He's also writing Doctor Strange sequel as well.
Yes.
So he knows what exactly is going to tie in to that.
Yeah.
And I think, you have to have a pretty good understanding of just sci-fi principles in general, and also the humor that goes along with that. And that works. It all has a little bit of Max Headroom in this as well. If you think about it, it's just got a little bit of that sort of like technology, weird quasi technology stuff with the style aspect of it. And
like that robot.
Yes. Yeah. So I love. I think the only thing that didn't work fully for me was the incorporation of footage, because it's always weird. It's like, we're going to show memories from your life, and it's going to be shot using different camera shots, but I'm overthinking as a filmmaker. But at the same time, they had to do that to sort of like to show those aspects. Although it is kind of cool that they actually used that. The reason it looks weird is they use different shots from the movie that we didn't see before, and so I think that adds a different perspective as well. But yeah, I think this is one of the strongest pilots right off the bat. I think this is a 5 out of 5 for me. As for favorite scenes, there's a lot of great scenes. It's funny how there's just a lot of humor even when people are dying, like when the guy refuses to get a ticket and he gets killed. I'm like, whoa, what the hell? But I think my favorite scene is like a combination of the scenes, and it's actually a little bit what Vanessa talked about. I love it when he goes into that room, first of all, and this robot with arms, but like a creepy digital smiley face is trying to take his clothes. He's like, this is primo leather. Yes. Like
that's Guardian leather.
That's Guardian leather.
Yeah.
And he just like
hold still.
And then he drops down, and then he goes into the other room where every time he says something, he has to print another page off the dot matrix and put it on there, which I think is it's a very Terry Gilliam bit almost, but it's very funny to where he just stops. Well, I'll just sign. So I just love this sort of taking these certain aspects of it and having these. I just love the style. Whoever the production designer on this series needs to win an Emmy, because it's, I want that smiley face robot spider arm sucker thing. I want that on my wall, my wall back here, just like. It's so funny how you could take something to smiley face and turn it into something very maniacal, to where if you walk into a room, you want to run screaming at the door. So yeah, I don't know. There's so many memorable parts of this that makes me smile just thinking about it. That it's like, and this is just the first episode, and we went through so much of the character arc just in this first episode. What else is going to be? And everybody's talked about, like, actually just wait till the second episode. So I'm like, what are they going to do that's going to blow me away this time? So I'm excited.
Yeah, me too. I say too, this is Marvel's outdone themselves, and we've already gotten 2 wonderful series, and it's really amazing because it feels unique, but it also feels tied in. Obviously because we get to see footage. We know it comes right out of the 2012 Avengers, but also the what is the Infinity War version of it, whatever the last one was called, Endgame. Yeah, the Endgame, where he grabs this thing and off he goes, and it just feels it's different, but it feels part of it, and I love that aspect and the direction and all the technical aspects of it. I mean, it's so polished and it's so rewatchable. I mean, it is. I've watched it twice and I'm ready to watch it a third time. It holds up, and it really is. It's just captivating, and so dialogue and the characters, and it doesn't rely on big splashy effects, although it has that. Right, there are scenes in here that are wow scenes, really, and visuals, right? So I do want to stop one moment and just say that whoever did you said the production design, but the set design, which is a part of that
Set design,
yeah, is like the lights on the ceiling and how how they look and how the rooms look, and even
all the posters,
even the desk, just the room where he goes in where where Casey's at. It just it has that big TV monitor hanging from the ceiling. It just all looks so wonderful and weird, but not so foreign, and then that's so hard to do, right? And I loved it. I loved this episode. 5 out of 5, of course. I can't wait to watch the rest. I can't wait to watch the rest and then watch all 6 of them again. I have a feeling this is going to be one of those television shows, much like WandaVision, maybe more so. My favorite scene, gosh, there's so many, but we mentioned it earlier. I think Vanessa, you mentioned it when they are heading to what Loki calls the kill room. This looks like a kill room to me. It's like a kill me room. They're going down the hallway, and they stop to look out at the the city that surrounds them, and it's just it to see Loki awestruck like that is kind of amazing, right? It kind of amplifies that, right? If it was Ant-Man or even Steve Rogers, it wouldn't have, it was like, of course they're going to be awestruck, but Loki, Asgard, he's seen things, he's seen the 9 realms, but to see this and that has some, power to it, and the dialogue with it, and that he wants to burn the place down, and said, well, great, I'll start with my office, I'll show you my desk, great. And then he says, this is a nightmare. He goes, nope, that's another department.
It's another department, which could be the villain for Multiverse of Madness.
It could be. We might see.
Gladly help you burn that one down.
Yep. And I love that. So I mean, it's just this. It's yeah. I'm stumbling over myself because how good this is. It really is wonderful. I can't wait for the next 5 episodes. I wish there were more.
No.
And it was 51 minutes long. It was the longest one, right? The longest one yet. So
I hope they stay that long. I hope all of them stay
I
that
don't
long.
know, but yeah, because we're getting the equivalent
It
of 2 to 3
feel long.
movies.
It didn't.
Did not feel like 51 minutes, but that's the other ones have been closer to like a half hour to 45 minutes. So.
And some of those have felt long.
Yeah.
All right. Well, there you go. It would be interesting to see when or if our predictions come true or fall flat. And we'll be bringing more of those to you as we go into the next 5. And of course, Christopher will bring his list of 10 things, little hidden nuggets and Easter eggs and whatnots. All those goodies.
We'll keep it going. Like a Mobius strip.
That's right. All right. Thank you for watching, Vanessa, Christopher, Slattman. Thank you for joining me. This, of course, we've been looking forward to this. This was a great discussion. I can't wait for next week. Thank you.
Kablooey.
Yeah. All right.
I'll leave you with this. Have you ever been or considered yourself to be a robot?
Nah, okay. I forgot about that. That was funny because he was like, "I am not a robot. I am not a robot." Because he doubted if he was a robot.
Do people not know?
That's
You would
funny.
be surprised.
Oh my god, that messes with you. All right, let's say good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Night.
Wow.